times, folks. So Candace Owens has decided to break her silence. Now, this comes after she was issued a gag order from the Daily Wire. Glenn Greenwald was the one that reported this first initially, if I remember correctly. Apparently, the Daily Wire did issue a gag order against Candace Owens, which basically says that she is not allowed to talk about this firing with the Daily Wire. So she cannot talk about what happened, whether it was conversations that took place between all of them in reference to the firing. So she could not speak. So when people have reached out to her and asked her, we would like to hear your side of the story, her response is, I'm not allowed to discuss this. Now, there was supposed to be a debate between Ben and Candace, but it turns out, according to that report from Glenn Greenwald, that was just a bait, right? So they baited Candace by making her think there was going to be a debate. And the conversation went back and forth on Twitter, and they actually used her tweets against her as part of the gag order. So, it was some really grimy, sneaky thing to do. It was really messed up, right? And I am not a Candace Owens fan at all, but that was messed up. That was really, that was shady. That was Melrose Place shady. That was General Hospital shady. That was 90210 shady. Either way, it was shady. That was messed up. Well, Candace said enough is enough. And she is speaking out. I don't know if this is going to hurt her legally because she has the gag order, but she said enough is enough. And she has some things to say. So here we go. This already has over 1 million views.
All right. I don't think I have done a live on Twitter or live on X rather in such a long time that you obviously have to know that this is something that is really upsetting me for me to be able to jump on here. I think I have, when I say tried to take the high road over the last couple of months to the point that it has given me a nosebleed, I have like nothing left here. And there is so much that I would like to say, and there is so much that I am fighting for my right to say. But today, I just feel like we crossed into another territory. Everyone can see what's happening. Everyone can at first see the public attacks on me over my, I shouldn't even say it's a belief, just the truth that Christ is king, and something that I will never stop saying as a Christian, nothing that I will apologize for. But these attacks against me and my character have not stopped. And I think partially it's being driven by the fact that they have not been successful. It has not, there's obviously a very real attempt to smear and to libel me out of existence, to make my audience not want to follow me anymore. And there is an entire network working behind the scenes to make that happen. But a couple of days ago, my PR person received a tip from someone that a Daily Mail journalist who I had never heard of was asking weird questions about me, like basically working on a hit piece. Now, I want to be clear here. I do not at all blame the journalist. I don't blame the Daily Mail. I read the Daily Mail. I used to write op-eds for the Daily Mail. So I am not saying this as like, I'm here just the Daily Mail. I understand that when somebody is leaking stories and claiming to have an inside track or some inside knowledge about someone, it is tempting for a journalist to get involved. But
let me pause for a second. Now, she has to say that she's not, obviously trying to smear them because of that gag order. So I think that's why she's saying that. One thing I do want to say, too, which is when we talk about the numbers and the views, from what I understand, she had one of the most popular shows on the Daily Wire. I think she was getting more views than Ben Shapiro's show, which, sometimes there can be jealousy afoot. So I think that that could have been part of it, too. I don't think this is just about her not supporting Israel or her not putting Israel first or being pro-Israel or saying Christ is king. I think this is a numbers game, too. So that could have something to do with it as well.
This level, I've just never seen anything just more fictitious and made up. And someone that is going to publish something or thinks that they have a story here when everything that they have learned has been wrong. So I'm going to read you the email that I received from this Daily Mail reporter, because we were like, what is this about? Like, actually, what could you possibly be writing about that hasn't already been written about me leaving the Daily Wire? Well, here's what they wrote. I am currently writing a story focused on how Candace Owens came to leave the Daily Wire. Oh, okay. I wonder what or who is behind the story. Any response, either in an official statement or from sources close to Candace on the following information, would be greatly appreciated. We have heard from multiple sources that Candace's dismissal from the Daily Wire was in large part, quote unquote, financial. That her show just wasn't making the company enough money to justify continuing her employment.
So think about what I just told you. And does that make sense to you that her show wasn't making enough money? She had like the most popular show on the Daily Wire. So let me tell you what happens here, right? First, they tried to punish Candace by telling the world she made anti-Semitic statements, right? And that didn't work with Candace's viewers. Like her audience didn't turn on her because they were like, nah, that's not cool. That's not what happened. Then they tried to say that they had to remove her because of the Christ is king phrase, etc. That didn't work on our audience either, because I'm assuming a lot of them are Christian, right? Considering the base that typically would watch the Daily Wire, I'm considering a lot of them are Christian. So that didn't really work in their favor either. So then the next thing that they decided to do, okay, what else can we come up with as a legitimate reason as for why we had to fire her? And then they decide to bring up the finances. She just wasn't making enough money. That also goes into your performance. She wasn't performing as well. She just wasn't bringing in the revenue. So now they bring up the finances and all that kind of stuff. That's another thing that they'll try to pull. And we'll get to the other one that they do, which is not uncommon for Black women or for Black people, period. Listen to this.
It is also claimed that she, quote unquote, blamed producers for her show's failures and that she refused to work with certain advertisers. We have also heard that senior management felt they had a moral obligation to terminate Candace's employment due to what has been described as her increased anti-Semitism and her conspiracy theories.
Pause. So did you see what they have added to the mix all of a sudden now? Now, all of a sudden, she was a hostile employee. I never worked at the Daily Wire. I've never met any of these people. I can't tell you if anyone's been hostile behind the scenes or not. But I think it's interesting that this wasn't said in the beginning. So when the other two methods did not work, now it's okay, she wasn't bringing in enough money. And oh, by the way, she was a hostile employee. She was angry. So here comes the angry Black woman trope. Now, Candace may not want to see it that way, but this has been done before. This has been done before. So if the other methods do not work, they will then move to assassinate your character. This ain't the first person this has been done to. This has been done to multiple people. Let's try to get the audience, the people, to turn against them. And if the other ways that they try don't work, they will move to assassinate your character. So now they're trying to make it seem like to the viewers that she was this hostile or the angry Black woman behind the scenes. Character assassination, something Candace knows quite a bit about, because you know what the irony is in all this, Candace did this too. Let's continue. We'll get to that.
Others have said that Candace was mean to and mistreated the junior staff members at the Daily Wire, including, ready guys, makeup artists and interns.
There's the angry Black woman. What did I tell you guys? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? Remember when Sam Cedar debated Brianna Joy Gray? And then after he terribly lost that debate about force the vote, he went to Twitter and all of a sudden he said she was yelling and screaming at me, use the angry Black woman trope against her. This is what they're doing. Again, she may not want to say that because that may not go over well with some of her audience members, bringing up the racial issue. But that's exactly what they're doing. Jesus Christ.
One source described a scene in which Candace allegedly threw a canned drink at someone. Okay. This is sending me. I'm now throwing canned drinks at employees, mean to junior employees, yelling at the makeup artists, Separately, what would Candace say to claims that she has been homophobic and anti-Semitic, particularly on her social media, and that she has peddled conspiracy theories? So here is what is clearly happening. The attacks on me over me not backing down on being a Christian are failing. So now we're just moving to full-on character mischaracterizations. I have worked in politics for now 8 years. If you think that if there is a single person that wishes to come forward and to say that I mistreated them, I welcome you to do it. I am the exact opposite human being. This is the most absurd thing that I've ever read in my entire life. The idea that I threw a canned drink at someone and it was fine and it just flew, like that employee didn't have a lawsuit that they could have, like, it is literally just invented in someone's head as part of a character attack on me. Now, I will tell you this, I am unbelievably close to my team at the Daily Wire. I am still close.
Pause for a second. So again, I doubt that Candace will ever see this, but if she does, they are using the angry Black woman trope against you. That is exactly what they're doing. This has been done to multiple people. They've done it to Black men too. They did this to Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard he's difficult to work with. That's the professional term, right? The professional phrase, difficult to work with. Doesn't get along with too many people. Why? Because he asked for more money for a role? Difficult to work with. So they are assassinating Candace's character. And the reason why they're doing this is because they are trying to prevent her from moving on with whatever project she has planned after the Daily Wire. Remember, she decided to take a break. She said, I'm going to take a break and I'll come back stronger than ever with a new project. They are trying to prevent that, fam. They are trying to make it so that Candace Owens will never have an audience again. And to me, that sounds like cancel culture, which I don't approve of. You ain't got to be a fan of Candace. You ain't even got to watch Candace. But what they are doing, the lengths that they're going to make it so that she can't continue, this is insane. This is wild. She's fired. She's not with them anymore. Why are they still talking? Why are they still going after her? Think about it, fam.
Close with my team at the Daily Wire. I still speak to my team at the Daily Wire. In fact, this past weekend, I was at the wedding of the most junior person at the Daily Wire, this young girl named Markella, who I absolutely love to work with every day. The makeup artist left the Daily Wire with me and is still working with me. Her name is Evelyn. My producer, my executive producer, I had the same one for the entire time I was at Daily Wire. She is on maternity leave. And when I just called her and told her this, she was like, nobody contacted me for this story, and I am your executive producer. Like, who is planting the story, right? So I am not going to speculate because I don't need to speculate. I think everybody can see clearly what is happening here. Everybody knows what is going on here, and we're getting to the point where this is just torturous interference. This is basically like, I want to make it so that nobody will work with you, and since I know that Candace is a really hard worker, and I know that people actually love her, that her entire team loves her, we're going to pretend it's the opposite so that other people who might want to work with her go, maybe not. She's like throwing canned drinks at people.
That is the blackball tactic. And the people have done this in Hollywood as well. But that's the blackball tactic. Nobody else wants to work with you after they hear these stories or after this article, the story is published that she's referring to. Then no one else is going to want to work with you. That's fine. She can work by herself. She may not be used to doing that, but I mean, a lot of us that do this, I mean, I have Eric and Corey who help me in the background with our production. Actually, Eric helps with producing. Corey does the clips and things like that. But Eric and Corey can both tell you, when I started this show, I didn't have anybody to help. I didn't have a producer or anything. I did it by myself. When you see us over at Revolutionary Blackout Network, we don't have a producer. We don't have anybody in the background, right? So she can do it herself. She may not be used to that, but that's what they're trying to do.
Just gets angry at makeup artists and just like throws a soda pop. She's just like, take this Coca-Cola. I don't like the way my lashes are done today. That is the actual phase that we are at now, in the absolute desperation to defame me and to tarnish my name, for the simple fact that I won't be apologizing for saying Christ is King. Christ is King, my friends. We're saying Merry Christmas again, and we're saying Christ is King, okay? So go on, write the article. I responded fully and gave them proof and contacts of every single person on my team that they could speak to directly. Shockingly, they didn't contact not only my producer, my associate producer, the junior associate, nobody that actually worked on my day-to-day team for 3 years was contacted. So who's leaking this? What do you guys think? Who do you guys think is leaking this story, suggesting that I would ever mistreat an employee ever? It's not in my DNA, okay? You guys know I'm my granddad's girl. Like, my grandfather was a janitor that swept floors. The concept of me treating someone badly that is an employee, I would rather die into myself than treat some.
You don't have to go there. Like, you ain't even got to say all that. Candace, you ain't even got to say I'm my grandfather's girl and all that kind of stuff. If someone's lying, they're just blatantly lying. Like, see, now she has to try to convince people that that's not how she is. That's not who she is because of this information that she's received. But for people that do know her, if they know that's not how she is, then you ain't got to. If people believe it, then they believe it. But for the people who know you, and if they know that that's not how you are, don't even try to spend your time trying to convince people that may think that is what you did.
Badly. I have the opposite problem. I'm actually too nice sometimes. It's not easy for me, even when people, should be reprimanded. I usually pawn that task off to my husband because I don't like to do it. It makes me uncomfortable. I want people to be happy. It's why nobody ever leaves me. This is why the people that work with me have worked with me for years, like actual years, from my creative director to my assistant, who's now my manager. People stick around because I treat them well. And I take a lot of pride in that. So the worst part of this hit piece to me, forget the part about saying I'm anti-Semitic, racist. That's just like it's 2024. You got to catch them all. You're being called that every week. But to suggest that I would ever treat people badly, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm literally just not going to stand for that. So that's it. Christ is Lord. And I just wanted to update you guys on that. And like I said, I am fighting for my voice. And when my show comes back in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna breathe some fire like a dragon, because to me, it's just time. And I, again, have tried to be so calm and take the high road and allow everybody to be speaking about me and speaking about my life for months. But this is just a bridge too far. Thanks, guys.
So I don't know if that will actually be an issue with her gag order, but that was her defending herself. And there was another thing that she showed as well. I do want to show you this picture. She said, "Fighting back tears with this one, my executive producer for all 3 years at the Daily Wire, who I allegedly blamed for all my failures." So there's a picture of Candace with the woman that was her executive producer. They look pretty friendly there. So there's that. However, what's being done to Candace in reference to the character assassination, we have to remember Candace did the same thing. And I want to show you an example, right? First of all, check out this video. Now I want you to see who is sitting around her when this conversation takes place. Now this is going back to George Floyd. Okay? Because you see, as much as they are assassinating Candace's character right now, we have to remember Candace Owens assassinated George Floyd's character as well. Some people forget. I didn't. And look at who's sitting around the table with her when it happens. Watch this, guys.
Hear from Speaker Pelosi herself, speaking in front of the Capitol at a Congressional Black Caucus presser. "Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. Wow. Because of you and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous for justice."
Oh, wow. Lord. That's a religious cult.
I was going to say, did she then say, give us
Parole? This is literal.
Right. Drug addict. Okay, yeah. He was a drug addict. He abused women. He abused men. This is disgusting. That is, it actually grosses me out. Do we have no better examples to put forward in the Black community? When you think of the word justice, you think of George Floyd. I mean, how?
Pause for a second, because we have to remember that Candace Owens made that statement before Nancy Pelosi made that statement about George Floyd. When the George Floyd protest started, remember Candace Owens made a quick video. It looked like it was made on her phone and said, he's a drug addict. So that means he deserved to be killed. Don't we have a criminal justice system for a reason that you claim to believe in? Don't people deserve to have their day in court? That was character assassination that Candace Owens did about George Floyd. Now, whether or not you feel that George Floyd should be the hero of the Black community, that's a totally different discussion. But what Candace did here with George Floyd, the way that she assassinated his character, it's the same way that these men sitting around this table with her are assassinating her character now.
How far we have fallen since Martin Luther King. It honestly makes me sick. It makes me sick. It's so upsetting to me as a Black person to see what is coming out as representative of the Black community, what we are told we should be holding up. Do you think those words would be written when Clarence Thomas dies? Do you think those words would be written when Thomas Sowell dies? Do you think those words would be written when Dr. Condoleezza Rice dies? That's why I asked the question, why? It's almost like they are trying to intentionally pivot the attention of Black Americans into celebrating degeneracy at every turn, right?
They think of Black people.
Whether it's culture. This is.
So you see who this is? So here's the other guy who fired her. So you see this? They loved you, Candace. They loved you when you were doing this. They loved it when you were doing it. When you were doing this in reference to, and when you were saying this about a Black man, they loved you then, Candace. All of them sitting around the table just smiling and nodding and cashing checks. And they were the first ones to let you go. They loved it. Loved you.
Who we're going to name Woman of the Year, right? Cardi B. Whether it's talking about, civil justice, or George Floyd is now the emblematic of civil justice. He's so brave. What he sacrificed his life. I mean, there is something very sinister and very disgusting happening right now in this country in terms of how they are trying to pollute Black minds. And it goes all the way from the education system and critical race theory to these disgusting words. And I will call them disgusting because they are, and they are false. George Floyd died. He was a drug addict, period. Whether you have an opinion about whether Derek Chauvin, should have spent some time in prison, yes or no, we should all agree that this man is not emblematic of justice.
Right.
I mean, it infuriates me.
Karma is a motherfucker. Karma. Notice she mentioned Cardi B. Let's go back to that part real quick, because I want to point something out about the Cardi B thing. Hold on. Let's see if
pivot the attention of Black Americans into celebrating degeneracy at every turn, right?
They think of Black people.
Whether it's culture. This is who we're going to name Woman of the Year, right? Cardi B.
Cardi B. So Cardi B is Black now? See, this is a whole other discussion. We'll have to do a whole separate show for this. That's a whole separate discussion. Everybody see what's happening? But all the men sitting around this table, oh, Candace, they were totally fine with you then. There's Ben Shapiro. There's Matt. And I think this is Jeremy Boring. I think that's either Jeremy or Andy. Anyway, all of them, they loved you then. You were one of them. They let you have a seat at the table. Literally, she's sitting at the table. And the moment she decided to criticize the killing of children, the slaughter of children in Gaza, the moment she decided not to be pro-Israel or to put Israel first, the moment she decided to say the words Christ is king, the moment she decided to question what Israel was doing, they were done with her. And now they're trying to make it to the point where nobody else will want to deal with her again in this industry. So they're trying to ruin her for life, fam. But karma is a bitch. Character assassination is the lowest of the low. And I say that because if you're trying to convince people that what someone did was wrong, all you need to do is just focus on what was done. when it gets to the point where you're starting to attack their character and call someone a drug addict, or like they're calling Candace now, they're calling her basically the angry Black woman without saying those words. It's just the lowest of the low, man.